Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
As many planets and moons and whatever rotate around the sun, if you understood the totality, so the unicos rotates around one sun, which is the creator, the soul of the creator, where all the energy comes from. When you look at the drawing of the unicos, especially in the back of the third book, the center point is the creator. And the rest are on their own clusters of their own clusters of their own cluster. If you compare it to the soul of the man, your brain has its own soul, your kidney has its own soul, your heart has its own soul, and then within it, there are other sections, compartments of the fields of the strength to clean up the zinc, let's say, in your kidney, another part to clean up any vitamin D's, and another one. These become little galaxies. And then within the galaxies, then you have different tissues and the cells, and then become this like planetary system and whatever. But in fact, the essence of life of this cell in the kidney, which does certain job, is connected to the soul, which has been as a center. And that's the same. The whole universe evolves and fed by the soul of the creator within the center. All these universes are those clusters of kidneys and whatever different galaxies. You are a creator. When you're a mother, you're a creator of that child. But you can be no mother, but create a love for a child, and you still create a new emotion in that child.
Yes, I accept that. But
so,
if I'm a creator, I'm big, so I'm not.
No, who says?
Creator is kind of power.
No. If you create a statue, do you have a power over a statue? Move, sit, move. Left, right. We don't have that. What suits us to befit us and befit our emotion?
Yeah, because we say there is only one God.
And there are many gods.
Okay. And when you say my command is my wish is
it's my decision. It's my decision, and that'll be it. I decide, and that'll be it.
But can I say that also?
Yes.
My wish is my command.
You decide to go to the shop to buy the clothes, it's your command. You decide to go. If you sit, the clothes doesn't come from the shop to you, does it? Yeah?
Yeah. But it's not instantaneous. You know,
one is in the dimension of the soul, and one is in the dimension of physicality.
That's it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
You just said there are many gods. Do you want to wait until next week to expand on that?
The God is us. Translation of the God as a creator, not translation of God as the big creator of everything. You understand? There is a philosophy which we come into when man matures, even our creator as a creator. Otherwise, how was he created? You understand?
But where does that chain stop? Does it
Never.
stop?
It becomes us. It comes back to us to become them, to become us as what? As one.
Kind of like with the technology when you're feeding it back into yourself.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 640th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 30th, 2026. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute Education Department, and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name's Rick Kremen, and I'll be host once again in this weekly series of workshops ongoing for well over a decade now. And once again, we have Mr. Mehran Keshe here as our main presenter and teacher, and I believe he's ready, willing, and able to present today and is ready to go. Please go ahead, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Good day to you, as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to a series of knowledge seekers from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. We go back to what and where we started and bring in effects which has been in front of us and we all have been aware of and we have seen, we observe on a daily basis as part of our physicality, but we deny its existence through conformation of a soul. What does this mean? We consider our physical body, but we, as we spoke before, we come from the rays of the universe. We don't come only from the rays of the sun. Rays of the sun is one of the participants in the construction of the physicality of the man. What comes in the dimension of the matter connection conversion becomes our physicality, which is the dimension of partial the fields of the what we call our solar system, rays of our sun. And the other, which makes our soul, comes from the dimension of the universe. Our sun cannot produce that much to and make connection with our soul, because our soul receives energies above what is within the limitation of the resources of the physical conversion. In a way, our sun is an amplifier of its own fields, but does not work at the strength of the cosmic rays. So the sun feeds our physicality, and the cosmic rays from the source feed our soul. So we live a two life. We have two tenants in the same physicality. One is our soul and one is our spirit, or what we call emotion of the man. But how do they come together? We have denied, we have not understood, or partially we understood the process. And we are on a path to understand more about ourselves, more about our creation, more in how we are connecting the two together without knowing. The line of connection is the hydrogen. The line of communication is carbon. And it gives us the physicality. And this is the beauty of it, how it hides within the same structure. How we change energy into gases, and then how we change the gases into matter, is understood by man partially, but how it was absorbed, never understood. With nanotechnology we introduced, as I said, if you've been in my lectures around the world, I usually look for a leaf, and I explain to you with the leaf of a plant, if you look at one side of the plant leaf and then the other side, the back of it, there are two different colors, there are two different filters, but these are nano-materials, create their own magnetic fields. And what is the balance between the two is what carbon the plant absorbs from the atmosphere. All the CO2s are not the same. The CO2s are different. The CO2s are a spectrum of difference, and the gap between the two leaves, two green parts, decides which isotope of CO2 I'm going to absorb and what it is and how it is. This is how the woods, the human body is created. When we have a leaf on a tree at night, when the CO2 is passing, which is huge concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere of the earth, the plant decides which fish I'm gonna catch. That fish is what I am, what I like to eat. It's like you put a cow, the deer, the donkey, and the, let's say, giraffe in the same fields. Each one eats certain part of the grass. They don't all eat the same, and they leave something for the next one. And this is the way the fields of the atmosphere of the earth works. And due to inertia, due to gravity, due to everything else, these isotopes of CO2 are like layers on top of each other. It's like when you put oil and water, they're separated. This is why we only see certain type of trees on top of the mountains, and then we'll see a tree line on the top. There is no more vegetation because we don't have vegetations which can work on that level of higher strength carbon CO2 level. And as we come down, we come to the rivers, we come to the what we call oceans, we see the change in the CO2 absorption and conversion. We see plants in the water. In depth of the oceans, we find greens. There's still a CO2 in there, but the compression changes it. Compression decides. Compression of the water decides. Compression of the light decides what is absorbed by the plant to be there for life to exist. What we call a leaf, a body of the man, is the compression converter. What does this mean? It compresses the energy fields, what it needs, and then it transfers it through into what we call the matter state as it needs it, the way it needs it. It needs the wood for the trunk, it needs the thinner stem for the leaf, and it needs the thinner CO2 for the green and what it reflects. And why does it reflect the green? There's a test done by scientists decades ago where he actually took a plant of 1 kilo or a few kilos, very little, put a square meter of a soil, and he measured the soil and the plant. And then he converted this, let it grow for 5 years, 10 years. The plant became the tree, about, let's say, 100 kilo. He measured it, and the soil was exactly the same as when he started 10 years ago. So the soil does not convert into the tree. The only thing which becomes the trunk of that tree is the CO2 which the tree absorbs.
Excuse me, Mr. Keshe, is there a drawing that we should be seeing?
Yes.
We see a line.
Yes. Yes. Give me time.
Okay.
The plant absorbs the CO2. And according to the, what do you call the CO2 spectrum, becomes the trunk of the tree. That's why you have oak. That's why you have pine. That's why you have the stem of a bush. Because of what CO2 is absorbed, it becomes the construction of that plant. In a way, what is sent, what is released by the sun to convert into carbon becomes the embodiment of the physicality. So if we look into the dimension of a plant as a leaf, the CO2 comes in. They tell us it synthesizes and it becomes the trunk of a tree, what do you call it, chlorophyll and everything else which it becomes, and then it becomes into a matter state of it. It becomes the, what we call those little strings we see. But this CO2 going in, O2 gets absorbed and released into atmosphere because the trees give us. The carbon becomes the trunk of the tree. When we weighed the tree and it became 100 kilo from 1 or 2 kilos and nothing changed in the soil weight, then where does the weight of the tree comes from? And if you get a tree trunk and you burn it, what are you left with? Charcoal, carbon. So we understand that the CO2 with the inertia of the earth becomes the embodiment of the carbon-12, which becomes the, what we call the embodiment, the physicality of the tree. That's where you burn your wood from. It's the CO2 which you captured, which the plant captured according to its leaf construction. The nano layers onto the two sides. Now, our body is the same. They tell us we breathe air. We breathe the same air as the tree does. Why do we sleep at night better than daytime? Because our lung capacity changes into absorbing CO2, but our body has learned to absorb CO2 24 hours a day. But certain CO2s, which takes us to convert the carbon-12 into carbon-14 and 16 to become part of the cosmic ray, is released. Now you understand why you're connected to your sleep and your dream. The same way as a leaf absorbs the CO2 and then changes, releases oxygen, the carbon becomes the trunk of the tree, the air we breathe in does the same thing. Part of that, it's not all O2 and nitrogen. This is all made simple for people to understand. The science of composition is the same as the tree. Still, we absorb a lot of CO2s. We kiss each other. In the process of kissing, what do? We transfer CO2 to each other. Your CO2 is not my CO2. I take what I like from it. We sleep next to each other. We breathe over each other. We get 100 of us into one train cabin and we all breathe each other's CO2. But none of us dies because our body 24 hours a day takes the CO2 which fits us to keep the combination, the connection. Even when in the leaf, the liquid which goes in the what we call embodiment of the tree is sap. And the body of the man, the blood and the lymph is exactly the same process. But as part of that CO2 which we absorb as a carbon, we have at certain strengths attract, bring in combination, connection that allows carbon 16 and carbon 14 and the other carbon connection with the different dimensions of the universe to connect to us. This is the reason we dream at night, because we allow not only the blood pressure to reduce, not only the CO2 combination in our blood changes, allows the C carbon 14 and 16 to reach our soul, connect to the universe. This is why our breathing dictates our dreaming state. Our breathing dictates the entanglement, the shackles on our soul with our brain. This is why when our blood circulation stops, what we call the soul is released. Because it's not just that calcium of the skull, is the blood flow which carries the carbon 12 in the dimension of physicality of the man, which is the shackles on our soul. This is why when you cut a head, the soul is released, because carbon 14, which supports with the calcium to contain the body of the man, the soul of the man, all is gone. Even though when our blood pressure reduces, then we dream a lot. Oh, I feel lightheaded and I was dreaming. Now you understand, our condition, our physicality is connected to the carbon, which is the connector between the structure of the physicality of the man, and then is a connector and connector to the soul of the man and what we call the cosmic rays. What dictates into what we absorb of the carbon of the atmosphere of this planet is the inertia of the carbon, not the carbon itself. What it has as inertia, what it creates inertia in the dimension of floating within the structure, dictates the gravitational magnetic field of the carbon 14 and 16, which our soul absorbs, into what level we connect. And the more purified this becomes, this carbon 14, and the more purified becomes the carbon 12, the deeper, the higher field strength and narrow bandwidth we get to become closer to the Creator. And how this is controlled is through the emotion. Your emotion tells you not to do wrong. When you don't do wrong, there is no attachment. There is no connection of the emotion with the wrong, which allows the soul of the man to connect with the physicality of the man, which becomes to absorb the finer carbon in the structure that allows it to be closer to the soul of the Creator in the dimension of his hydrogen. Then you understand how we are connected with CO2 and CH3, how we are connected in energizing our physicality in the dimension of the carbon-14, or we will get energized in the dimension of carbon-15, CH3. It's very fine and it's connected. Carbon for the dimension of physicality of reflection of the lights of the creator and matter state. Hydrogen in the conformation of life on earth and connection to the creator. Now you understand why the whole structure of the life of the man goes on the pattern of the inertia, which that inertia is dictated by the energy of the emotion, which itself is the reflection of the direct effect of the physicality on the soul of the man. I made man in the image of myself, and he carries everything that's within me, from emotion to physicality. Now you understand, as knowledge seekers, how you are no different than the tree. The only problem is that they have fed the humanity with the wrong information, that they can abuse the man the way they want with the information. The simplicity of the creation is the beauty of the creation. And the dimension of the inertial connection between the matter light, cosmic lights, and everything else will come in the future. As you are aware, we now work with a very restricted matter state. They talk about the quantum. They talk now, as we have started, about the cosmic rays and cosmic energy. Because Keshe Foundation, with the knowledge it has brought in, has enlightened, has brought a new level of knowledge to the understanding. And as I said, we have set out to create systems which can bring, man can see how energy of the creator is converted into the cosmic rays and converted to CO2, converts to what we call physicality, and back to the way one drop will create the fish, one fish will create the creator. This is the process of the creation. This is what man needs to understand. How simply create life in the universe by one single element, which is hydrogen. The rest is the reflection and the inertia of what that reflection creates by interaction of itself. From hydrogen to the heaviest element in the universe. And the interaction of itself with the dimension of its environment. If you understood this, then you understand why we have a mass and we have a weight and we have density and we have everything else in the dimension of creation. Why we see light in the spectrum as we talk. They say you cannot bend it, but we can, as I explained last week, with a mirror, you can reflect it. If you cannot bend it, how can you reflect it? Where does the rest go? We need to understand, to make mirrors which fit the cosmic rays and not the matter of the humanity, with the mirrors we have. Once we manage to create the dimensions of the cosmic ray mirrors, then we manage to play the game of God. Because this is what happened with the rays of the Creator as expanded in the dimension of the unicos. In their reflection, they created the stars, the galaxies, and the universe as part of the unicos. Now we are aware, we become knowledgeable how to reflect the lights of the Creator in the dimension of the hydrogen and in the reflection of the carbon. I made man in the image of myself. So man carries what is within me in the dimension of physicality of my manifestation. Today's teaching is very deep. needs understanding. And those who understand it will find the key to the creator and the creation of the universe. It'll take you thousands of years to understand past 10 minutes of teaching. But the point is set that man finds his path to the process of his own creation. I made man to know his weakness through the emotion of gold, but I created the gold to create the universe. It's not the gold that you see, it's the gold that I made to reflect the soul of the man. This is why man becomes greed when he sees the gold. Because the conversion of dimension of the rays of the cosmos dictates the conversion of the matter state through the inertia of itself. Now you understand, in the time to come, what you saw exactly a year ago in Beijing was just the beginning of the show. There are no dynamic systems and there are no conversion systems in the universe, but we convert everything in the oceans, in the depth of the pressure, and in the tops of the hills with no pressure. Understanding the conversion, dictation, and understanding the totality of the structure of the creation, from the creator to created. One needs to understand where, which, and what inertia needed to confirm the existence of the matter state, or to confirm the existence of the rays of the creator. The process of creation is simple. It's man who has made it difficult for himself to understand. Now we open a book that you can fully understand the purpose of your creation, how you put the mass on you, how you connect the mass. And if you look, even in your amino acid, why do you say you have the both H and a C? Oxygen and nitrogen are the attributes of the planet. Hydrogen and carbon are the attributes of the creation and the creator. Connection of the two creates a condition of life. And this happens anywhere in the universe. Wherever you go, you test any blood of any created liquid within the essence of the creation, you find both the carbon and the hydrogen. It's the common denominator of the creation from the creator. The rest is addition of the time, place, position, and possession of the inertia of the place and time. Once the man understands this knowledge, man will be able to replicate life in any corner of the universe as long as he understands the spectrum of the isotopes of the carbon in the energy field states and not matter states, and the same with the hydrogen in the states of its energy and not matter. And if you understood this, maybe this untangles one of the biggest mysteries in the present science, why we create colors out of the carbon, and why all these affect the emotion, behavior of our children. Because they bring that inertia, the energy level, which connects to the soul of the creator. And then you understand why they add sugar to it, and that sugar affects the child, affects the man. Why it energizes us? Because we connect to a different hydrogen level, spectral energy that our body is used to. As much as it can bring joy, it can bring depression. And this is the key for the psychological condition, emotion of the man. The lack of, the shortage of, the use of the wrong bandwidth of hydrogen in connection with the carbon spectrum brings that condition. And then if you understand this in the full detail, in the researches of the future, you find out why each culture behaves different depending on where they live, how they live, according to the inertia of the position and position of the conversion of the carbon in that state. You're tall, look at where you live. You're short, look where you live. You behave like an animal, measure the inertia of the matter state of your area. You behave kind and serene, look at the same. Your behavior comes out of the inertia of your position and the interaction of the manifestation of physicality of the man in conjunction with gravitational magnetic fields of the inertia of the place of manifestation. The lives created in a monostructure systems where there is only hydrogen, or the interaction of which brings the combination of the helium with a carbon or helium with hydrogen, this leads to creation of monoenergetic being, which they carry within them the closest energy effects in direction and dimension of inertia of the creator. Creatures born, structures created within the structure of the stars, suns, are the closest things man will ever see connection line in life as those are with the creator. Even though they are amplified, feel the strength of itself. The lower and the lower you go, the narrower bandwidth of the field energy of the hydrogen, the closer you become to the creator, because the reflection of those creates the dimension of physicality of the man in a condition of its environment, position and position. When the scientists say they have found life in Mars and Moon, now you understand life is everywhere, because now you understand the connection between the carbon and hydrogen, especially the spectrum of the minimal field strength on the magnetical dimension of the hydrogen will lead to creation of life in a dimension of the position and the position with emotion. When you study the spectrum of the emotion, when you study the spectrum of the fields of the matter, then you understand how close the emotions are to the dimension of the fields of the creator than the matter state. I made man in the image of myself, but man has reflected the wrong energy of my matter states in the dimension of his own emotion and soul. Now you understand where your weight comes from. Now you understand where your mass comes from. Now you understand why we call them the vertical people. In the composition of time, we see the absorption of the carbon. The way the carbon as a gas converts to become the wood of the tree. The same carbon which is within the structure of the man converts to become every organ of the man with the intelligence of time, place, position and position. But what is more interesting, which will come in the teaching of the future, how through cosmic ray your DNA is created. How through cosmic ray dictates the RNA, which we call the magnetic field emotion of the cell. Man needs a lot to learn. And once he gathers these all together in one, what we call encyclopedia of the knowledge of creation, man will understand everything, and man does not need no temple and no churches, and no mosques, because he understands the process of creation. On earth, we have time for evolution. In the universe, there is no time for evolution. As the time does not exist, and evolution fits in the time, place, and position, and the creation of the closeness of the soul to the soul of the creator. And if you understood this, further you understand where to find the soul of the vertical people. And when you separate it, you end the life. You release the soul. And then you understand why the roots of the trees are so much in the shape of the branches and the leaves of the tree itself. One day mankind will understand how kind the Creator has been to create such a horrendous, what I call obnoxious creature, called the human. But is of the reflection of the lights of the matter state and not of the beauty of the soul of the Creator. Too much has got muddled up and too much has been absorbed by different reflections of the same, but in the wrong proportion. Now you understand why you have a soul, and how what you breathe takes you to your Creator, and how it takes you away from your Creator by dimension of the physicality, and why man is so attached to the dimension of physicality than the soul of the man. We all create inertia to the dimension of creation through reflection of the fields of the carbon. Our shape, our emotion, the color of our hair and the skin is nothing deeper than one isotope difference. But we're all the same. As you all know, with the recent research shows that all of us, does not matter from what line, we all come from Africa. All our genes, in combination of the different, what we call field strength, which created a condition of life in Africa, allowed us all to be created. Every single one of you, from South America to Australia, to blue eyes in Norway, and black eyes in Saudis, and all of you, all have one common denominator, which comes from Africa. When the human race, in the dimension of different field spectrum, like the plants, was created, different races of man was created in Africa. And in the mixture of the whole lot, we find a mixture of the humanity. We are not all of one ocean, one plot. The humanity is made of many, many conditions which led to the creation of life at the same time. And when he matured, traveled the span of this planet. So every one of you are connected to one tribe of man in one way or another, in a combination of interaction of the fields within Africa during the time of the millions of years of the process of creation of life. Then when asked why one called himself better than the other, where you all came from the same pool. Then, if we understand this, why do we value everything where we can create everything? In the upcoming time, we produce nuclear materials like we produce water. We produce gold as it rains from what we call Niagara Falls. Man will have no value for no matter state as is abandoned by his wish, and is what we call creation. Then it comes the value of emotion, which brings man to purity of life, purity of time, purity to become more closer to the essence of his own Creator and not his creation. We are proud of our children, what we created, but we are not proud of the Creator which created us, which we are the children of it. And this is where the man has fallen flat on his face. The greed of the matter state, the conversion of the what we called the narrowest bandwidth of reflection of the light of the Creator in the dimension of the carbon. I hope, as knowledge seekers and those who listen to these teachings in the time to come, they see and they unravel the keys to understand the process of the creation and how to find a path to the Creator. Now you understand why we tell you to breathe. Your breathing decides how you emotionally feel and how you can create the condition of the transmutation. Go back to the teaching and I explain to you, if you can control your breath, how you breathe, then you can decide how to do the transmutation. The longer you can hold the condition of that CO2 in your lung, which creates the release, what actually that leaf does, releasing the CO2 that gets absorbed by your soul, that connects higher to the dimension of carbon-16, then you understand the process, why your breathing affects your state of transmutation. There is one key factor, which will come to it in the future. The carbon-16, the carbon-14, even though they look higher in order, they are more closer on the other end of the carbon connection to becomes the carbon-6 and carbon-8. One day I explain. If you can create a condition of carbon-6, you have much better chance of becoming closer to your Creator than the carbon-16. One is for communication and one is for closeness, for the emotion. And one day, when you understand the work of what we call carbon-6, in the isotopes of purity of the state of the soul, which is the center of the what we call nuclear of carbon without electrons, about behavior of the flat energy, then man will understand how through that flat energy, without the existence of the matter state of the carbon, man will find a way to his Creator, as those fields are the reflection of the light of the creation. Man has not understood carbon-14 fully. How can you teach him about carbon-6? The teaching is deep. The teaching now goes past the dimension of human understanding and in the dimension of emotion of the cell of the man. When you have nothing to be attached to and you're detached from one, why does a carbon need an electron? Now you understand. Look deep inside you and you find out why you cannot travel the span of the universe and you are shackled with the physicality dimension of the carbon-12 on this planet. One day I teach. Man is not ready for that yet. I hope you understood the teaching of today and I hope you enjoy understanding it. And one day when you come to understand why your structure amino acid is a combination of the nitrogen and oxygen, then man will detach itself from the process of the creation of the matter state on this planet. We go for a break and we come back. And one day we'll explain. Rick, can you take us for a break, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Okay, let me bring up my background image here. There we go. All right. Thank you for being with us, everyone. And we'll have a short break here. And in the second part of our program, there will be an opportunity to ask questions of Mr. Keshe. And I'll remind our attendees here in the Zoom that there is an option to raise your virtual hand and then we can open your microphone to enable you to speak if you'd like to ask a question. Otherwise, you can post questions in the Q&A, preferably, or in the webinar chat, or in the chat in YouTube as well. Okay, this is the 640th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, and we'll have a short break with the donation video and the Keshe coin. Be back shortly.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Okay, as mentioned, this will be a short break, and we are back again and ready to begin the second part of our program. Before we do, of course, Mr. Keshe will have a few things to say, and please go ahead, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much. Couple of notes. We try to run the session for addiction tomorrow. We could not reach the system, what we call development we are waiting for. But either way, through the new developments, this will be done tomorrow. We start at 10 o'clock Central European time, and it will be just a couple of hours. And then we need your feedback, those of you who participate. The May session of the vocal transmutation, we try to delay it a little bit more till the system is ready, sometime later on in May. But we want to do that, especially with a new system that nobody interrupts each other. Those of you who come in for the addiction tomorrow, please bring with yourself for what we call 2 headphones with 4 head covers, and as usual we tell you what to do. We consider you none of you been there before, and keep as quiet as possible. I was informed yesterday that our team would like to delay the presentation of the products till next week, where they have their videos and everything else complete done, even though they have their pictures and everything ready, their website. They see it always is appropriate to be done in a full first-time delivery next week. Hopefully, you will see part of the structure of the Keshe Foundation, where and how we invest into creating the pure seeds, pure structures, and pure waters that can allow us to structure what we call the transportation of the future. Those of you who work with us around the Keshe Foundation framework of support, we still need a lot of help. If you're expert in any dimension, we would like to know. As I said, we're receiving a lot of offers. Those of you who we know can help us to stage further the whole process, we'll get in touch with. Those of you who keep on sending us emails, you've done this and that. If we don't respond to you, as I said before, we already passed the knowledge you're trying to tell us. You're still playing with infancy, even though you think you're on the edge of the science. So if you don't get any reply from us, especially who offer us scientific, what we call data or systems, it means we passed your system. And your understanding might be good, but it doesn't mean you're wrong. But compared to where the Keshe Foundation is, your work is literally nominal. Even though it's groups of you, there are few groups around the world who have gathered together in different parts of the world. There's some in East Asia, there's some in Central Asia, there's some in Europe. We have groups in America. And we see a lot of your work coming in, and you think you've done, you're very advanced. You're actually, even the most advanced one I was looking at, you're something 10 years behind us. There are groups in different parts of the world, and they think they gone very far, but it's beautiful what you do. But what you're doing in these groups or individuals, you're quite a bit behind what Keshe Foundation is. And it's not good for us to go backwards. Maybe it helps us somewhere down the line, but at this moment, what we set up, what we're doing, we're looking to go forward. We have to bring the knowledge in a very big operation as it's taking shape gradually. And those of you who work with us and you've been with us know exactly how we're going, where we're going, and the systems development and everything else which is going on. If there are any questions, we'll try to answer, and we'll see where we go.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Let me see here. We do have some questions in the Q&A, but we have a hand up here with Christian. So, Christian, could you go ahead, please? Christian, you'll have to open your microphone if you wish to speak there. Well, he's either having trouble with that, or maybe it was in the old inadvertent hand. In any case, if you're able to open your microphone, please go ahead. Well, we have another hand up here with Claudia, so we'll go with Claudia for now. Go ahead, Claudia.
Hello. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Hello,
Good
Rick.
morning.
Thank you so much for the teaching today. Yesterday we was discussing at the soul teaching about our creation, and related to the teaching today, I want to understand, because our creation, our body, the sperm and egg, and the interaction of the fields of the environment have a gap for the soul of the man comes inside of this body. So why have this gap of time?
What do you mean? Which gap?
Because the creation of our body, I listened a few years ago, you said after some weeks, I think 10 or 12,
Yes.
the soul comes inside.
The soul doesn't come inside. It's the participation of common denominator energy between all the cells which are created. I put it once to children in the classroom. Now maybe it fits to this too. You know, you've been on these what we call Turner roller coasters in the fun fair, where there is a very big post and a lot of chairs hanging from it with a seat at the end. Sometimes you have them in different layers, 3 or 4 of them when you go to fairgrounds. Our cells of our body are like those seats at the end of the chain hanging. And the top is when all centrally controlled and run at the same time, then they fly to the edge. Then they bring that top to control all together. Before that point, they're swinging everywhere. It's the same way. We have many cells, they're all surviving in their own little environment. This could be the cell of the liver, this could be the cell of the heart, this could be the cell of the skin and the lung, but they don't have a common control that they function together. It's like all send one link to one position and that they all agree that we listen to this link. There's a physical link, which we call the brain, controlling the physical dimension, but the emotion which comes behind it, which is the hidden energy, not the physical dimension of the matter state of the cells, then becomes the soul, where we all listen to one boss. And this is how long it takes for all to agree, all to connect, to listen to one central command, one on the energy and one on the physicality. It's very much like a power station. You have the cables, you have the power generation, which is the turbines and everything, and then you have people who run the energy which it produces. 2 different divisions. But if the turbine doesn't work, there is no power. And if the central energy guy don't know where to send the power, there is no use for the power into what you got produced. That common denominator, that all the cells which create a full functionality, is when the soul is complete and takes shape. The soul is not created if you don't have the livers produced. The body cannot function. The body is rejected. If you look at the children in infancy in the womb of the mother in the first 6-8 weeks, which they rejected, is because one of the organs is not complete, cannot create a sound. You cannot feed a child when it has no bladder. We cannot feed a child when there is no digestion system. When everybody reports we are all operating, we are all started to see, to start, we are all going, then that central command takes position and that becomes the soul. This is why we very, very clear in the world of science, they say 10 weeks or 12 weeks is when that all the central commands are in line and connected physically and energy-wise. Energy-wise is the soul, physically is the body of the man. That's why it takes time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks, Claudia. From Freed in our webinar chat here says, thank you, Rick. Thank you so much, Mr. Keshe, for your weekly update on the progress of humanity for 12 years now live. My question is, if there's a combination possible with non-medical use of hypnosis to overcome fear or even trauma. I think about pictures, visual effects, music in combination with plasma fields and cosmic ray materials to reach the creator in us. What would be a possible approach?
There is no single approach because we all are different. It is not a one tablet that stands for every headache. We have to find our own dimensions of the strength. And where we need to strengthen. And then you look within the structure of the fields of the energy, which feeds the emotion. Which means you have to find fields which fits into the emotion where your fear is and strengthen it. This is possible. Now we have the knowledge. Now we have, I think, as part of the structure of the work of the Keshe Foundation, we'll see this. We are moving in a position, hopefully, I know in the next couple of months, to operate from a medical, wellness center, which will allow us to operate if everything fits perfectly with 3,500 beds. Which this needs a lot of negotiation. This has started, but if they are ready and we can be ready for it, we can test a lot of things like this. A lot of old people go through the fear, and that fear brings them a lot of pain, a lot of what we call shortcomings. By eradicating that fear, they start living a different life. Our skin changes. In recent research, we have even gone through the soul emotion to change what we call the skin texture. Not with cancers, understanding the energy dimension. There's a lot of research goes on with different groups at the Keshe Foundation. I have hidden all the research groups well embedded outside the KF for them not to be damaged. We've seen what they tried, we've seen what they couldn't do. If you remember, years and years ago, if you go to early knowledge seekers, we used to let you to come and do things and explain to us, and some people abuse us for that. Since 2021, we have stopped that. But I embedded these people in their own research, in their own things. They still work with the foundation. They're very tightly close to us. But we don't bring what I call the elites of the science of the Keshe Foundation in public anymore. And there's a lot of research going on this way. There's a lot of research. And the fear and all that can be resolved, because fear has a frequency, fear has a dimension of emotion, fear has a structure that through what we call the cosmic rays can be touched. And very soon, through products, we change this. Through material which we produce through Keshe Foundation will change this. Very tactically, very technically, very direct into the dimension of our work. But you need to not only change the structure of the emotion, you have to change the structure of physicality that reacts to that emotion. It's a very, very fine connection. You get angry, you dump it inside yourself, you chew it up. You get angry, you raise a hand and hit someone. You get angry, you drive a car, or you swear or shout. So anger, the emotion of it, is one side. How you create the reaction is another side of the part of the Keshe Foundation work. To stop your reaction. And there are two different dimensions of science, two different parts of understanding. And it cannot be done with, oh, I gave this cancer and I didn't hit anymore or this. The gases now we produce in our factories are so complicated and getting more and more complicated. It's unbelievable because we understand more. And somewhere I see in some researchers, they even lose themselves in the gases. They don't even understand anymore. We are working on, hopefully, the next few months, computerized GANs productions, which means you want a GANs for, let's say, Apple. There's certain you want a GANs for let's say, anger. We can create a precise mixture that GANs gives this reaction. But for us to do, we need you. We need your feedback on the line to see where your anger sits, where your fear sits, that we build that into the mixture. It won't fit your brother. It won't fit your child. It fits you only. Your child gets angry, cries. You get angry, you raise your hand. Why? So it just takes time to go precisely with the same with the fear and everything else. You have to find a connection between the emotion of the physicality, emotion of the soul, and bring them under control with the emotion of the, what we call the spirit, the collection of the fields of the matter state. It's not so easy, but it's something, some works which are going on, gradually be reaching there to understand. Any other question?
Okay, very good. You see, Stefania had Stefania in the chat here. There are potential Enlightenment game players from Romania who cannot log into their account after following all the registration steps. So I guess the question would be, what should people do that are...
Why Romania?
Romania in particular.
If there are any Romanians with this problem, send the link in the Romanian chat group in Telegram, and we look into it.
Okay, that's a good suggestion.
Just send it to us, because why Romania? We have sorted out the part or most of our problems with the firewalls in China, but anywhere else I don't see a problem. There's no ban on Keshe Foundation in Romania or blocking, and secondly, these things cannot be blocked the way we set it up. But let's just have a look. Why Romanian and which one? Or have we blocked you? Because we block people, but we don't have anyone Romanian blocked in our system, as far as I know.
So if somebody has trouble with the registration...
There are two people in Romania, sorry, we were blocked for misconduct.
Oh.
I think one or two people, because of their total misconduct in the condition of the work and unethical works they do and connect themselves to the Keshe Foundation, they've been blocked for a long time. But I don't see, we blocked the Belgians because of their conduct, but not really. We have 2 people. I know the 2 people we've been blocked for their misconduct in the past. But we always review. We're not going to stick to it for ever, but it just depends what things take shape.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question from Marco Aurelio from the Brazilian community. There's a theory that the fastest way to transmute is by practicing sexual alchemy. What do you have to say about that?
Never heard of that one.
Sexual alchemy.
What is that? That's a new one on me.
Well, I would presume that means using sexual energy to manipulate that in some way with certain sexual practices in order to.
Oh, it's like the guy who was
faster.
covering his head with a plastic bag and died, a member of parliament in England years ago. Increasing the CO2.
I guess he transmuted pretty fast.
No, I think he increases CO2 too high.
Well, in the way, the fastest way to transmute would be to die, would it not? In a way, but
no, because
we don't want to accelerate the process. To make it faster may not be the best technique. Or how should the ordinary person approach that in terms of accelerating our evolution or our elevation? Obviously, we want to do things that can help.
The easiest way to reach transmutation is through emotion. But you have to understand your emotions, both in the physical and the dimension of the soul. Then you have no choice. It's the easiest. Breathing is the longest way. Emotion, just think what makes you breathe faster or what makes you to breathe slower, which emotion, and work on that one. It's very, very easy to do it through emotion than actually physical breathing, because you can sometimes go over the board. I was with a doctor yesterday. She's a specialist in children behavior and speech. And when I was explaining to her how she has not understood the position of her patients in respect to their emotion, she was shocked. She said, I work as a specialist in this field for years, but this emotion controlling just something they don't teach us, but it makes sense to do it. You have to understand even why do you lose your breath when you come to a calamity? Or why do you use your breath when you get too excited? It's the emotion which creates it. So why do you work with the, what you call a soldier, when you can work with the general? And this is what I keep on explaining many times. Understand the emotion. Emotion is, the physicality is irrelevant. But if you understand what creates that emotion, which brings that physical behavior or needs that physical behavior, is much easier to handle. You can transmute much faster. It's us learning. We haven't been trained. It's like learning how to drive. Keshe Foundation has put this week a new, what do you call it? It's not a product, it's what it says for training and support. Which you can, it's a very expensive package. It takes time to train and do things. And yes, we put that €5,000, especially for these kind of things. We bring in people who train in different ways, even to how to use systems, and the process of the Keshe Foundation as becoming more technical. We don't have enough people. We train some and then they train some others. And this type of training now is taking shapes in our research centers. One of the knowledge seekers, we cannot keep on lifting and shifting from everywhere. They are remotely training our staff in that field of their expertise. We have knowledge seekers who, from one part of the world or one part of the country, train our people on camera, on what do you call it, on teaching sessions once or twice a week or a month. And this process of the support is part of which comes how to find ways in the Keshe Foundation, in the software, in the hardware, and other things to use, for example, these new games which is you have now, and slowly building up a team behind it. Now that the system is more or less, I think it was completed yesterday or today. Finally, after months of work, we have managed to get it. Hopefully, they try it next few weeks, and then you will see the very expert team of the what you call Keshe Foundation bringing your new dimensions in your what we call the game. It takes time. We started from zero, and this takes time to build up, and the same transfer of the emotion through our system and everything else which goes with it. Takes time, but we need time to reach that point. Any other question?
We have a question in from Anonymous in the Q&A. Morning, Mr. Keshe. In the plasma dilution process, light is needed in order to achieve it. Can you expand a little on that? Thanks so much.
Plasma gas dilution does not necessarily need light. Needs a spectrum of energy that some of it can lead to creation of light. I was talking about this part of this just before teaching of today with our knowledge seekers, minutes before. You don't need to introduce light if you use the creation of the light by itself through the ganses, which is an easy job to do if you understand the process. Then we don't have a spectrum of light in the matter state to create big effects in the ganses and production of fields, because the light coming in outside as a human source is already in the matter state, the strength, which we need above it or below it. And these are techniques, and most of the material to do it is in the hand of the knowledge, but you don't know how to use it. Gradually we introduce. Any other question? You got your mic.
Yes, just getting our Q&A fully open here, so we can see the last questions. There we are. from Alexandra from the Brazilian community. Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Does the air we breathe in cities directly affect our lives because it is altered or polluted?
Yes, very much so. It's a new spectrum of energies which our body is not used to. We haven't gone through the fast enough evolution. The industrialization and new technologies have brought out things that our body, we need about 1,000 to 5,000 years to go through understanding of the evolution that we can repeat it as a race. Individually, we do it about 25 years to 40 years. But as a society that, okay, we are all, let's say, Chinese behave this way or whatever, or the British look that way, this takes about 5,000 years to go through a full evolution in the cycle of one race. And it's something very slow. But now, with the industrialization and a lot of other things which are coming in, this takes time. And our body doesn't have that time. And this is why we see so much problems with a lot of things like the CO2 industrial revolution and everything else, the plastics, and as we talked last week, and everything else which is coming with it. The changes are too fast for a slow system of evolution to catch up with. And it's there's a tomato, as they call it.
There's a second part of the question, which is, does being surrounded by nature make us feel better because the air is pure? Or is it the way we breathe that makes us feel better and leads to the absorption of C14 and C16?
It's a combination of things, because the air at the moment around the world is the same everywhere. It's a big pot. We call it the wind and storms and the airflow. It flows everywhere. You cannot change it. So you have a better chance. You get more of when you're in the tree and the green area. But all the same, the gases that started from America ends up in your house in Manchester or in London or in, what do you call it, Germany. It is the way it is. You can't change it. So you get a slightly better quality living in a tree area or whatever, but at the end, that wind brings everything in.
And the third question, will the ONN system change or purify the air we breathe and help bring about change?
I don't think so. I don't think so. It's a different dimension. Different world. No, there's no way I can see that. Maybe in the future there's another way to do it, but
maybe it'll help people become aware of themselves and their environment, and maybe that will make them start to appreciate the quality of the air more, and all of a sudden all the laws change and
there's
fresh air.
There is a lot to do how psychologically people feel. And then in the emotion, they change the bandwidth of the use or absorption. When we are relaxed, we absorb. When we are happy, we absorb a different spectrum of the carbon than when we are angry or when we are stressed. And that then reflects in the structure of our body and everything else. And possibly we can create a condition of environment of the what we call feeling better, but then you change the spectrum of your absorption. of the what we call the elements in the atmosphere. Our biology and our physiology and our psychology is so far from reality, and it's been accepted so much. To change this is a battle of huge proportion. The world of money has changed man so much, and to be able to get access to live without money, man has accepted a lot of rubbish. By fear, by bribes, by changing a lot of things. And we see this. Governments get involved in it. Governments. American government has a two-directional policy. One is exploded now, we see, and the other one is about to blow back on the face of the Americans themselves directly. They set up structures around Iran to create drought with the British. Because in creative famine, they killed 15 million Iranians during the First or Second World War. 15 million Iranians died of starvation. So they set out to do the same. In past 3 or 4 years, there was such a huge drought in Iran, nothing could be done. Iran destroyed 2 centers in Dubai and Emirates, and in Middle East is a flood. The day these 2 centers, they were controlling knowledge to create death. And then we see another spectrum, the same again, the Americans are busy with, which is heroin. Americans paid, the British paid the whole of Afghanistan to create heroin only to destroy Iran and Russia. 93% of the heroin in the world is cultivated in Afghanistan, and Americans paid to the farmers. This is documented, well documented with CIA, it's not something I say, that to produce enough, that create enough weak nation that they can then run what they did with China, with opium. And now, the Iranians, through blocking and cooperation, have transferred all this cocaine, heroin into the United States. That's their biggest nightmare. All these exotic drugs you're getting in America is coming from your own nation feeding it. So, using the emotion, using the technology to harm has actually backfired in so many ways. And this is what we have to eliminate from the human race. And this is a big task. It's not a simple thing to do. And we've seen in past 72 hours how cuddly the British and Americans are in Washington. And now we will see huge, horrendous movements in the Middle East. You will see it very soon. British decides. Americans are the soldiers of British. And as you heard, most probably is better than I do what was said. Trump said, if it wasn't because of us, you Europeans will all be speaking Germans after the Second World War. And in a speech by the King of England in America last week or this week, said, you Americans all be speaking French if it wasn't because of us British. And now it's a hunky-dory time, and every time this we get hunky-dory, there's a big problem for humanity. Because the British kingdom is literally run and owned by Rothschilds. They have borrowed so much money from them that they do their banks. Now we expect the same new cycle of pain and suffering through religions, going through the Jewish state. Any other question?
Okay, let me see here.
Are we getting to the end of it?
Getting close, Mr. Keshe. Yes. Question from a friend Shelley from the Brazilian community. Could it be that souls from another dimension who have already transcended are unable to manifest themselves here on Earth because the energy here is so heavily laden with hatred, anger, and violence?
It has, it does, it will do. The same as our souls which travel this part of the universe. But for whatever reason, this could be part of it or could be none of it.
She goes on to say, and does this work involve a nation that is here to help us purify this energy so that other souls may manifest themselves here?
You see, in the past weeks, we have started offering the carrot and what you call it, the stick job. But the stick is much softer and much more beautiful than a carrot, with the government, to change the governments in operation of the cash coin and technologies. Those are who are around the knowledge skills who work with me, they know how and what I'm talking about with different nations. And one of the problems we have is to bring comfort, it bring peace of mind to a nation. And at the same time, to do that, we are talking to the governments that we pay you to let your people have peace, but we don't let you control their peace. They have no problem us giving them a condition, creating a condition that the nationals can use cash technology through our coin operation to become comfortable, because then they can rule whatever they like. But they don't like us to dictate to them that you cannot interfere with them. We are not dictating, we are providing for you to do. In a financial way, we are offering trillions to governments, not billions, trillions, to allow the nations, the nationals, to live a peaceful life. And we provide it through the Keshe Foundation. And the way this is done is by introducing a cash coin to become a currency of the nation. We are now talking to 4 governments, 6 negotiations. We don't touch the national currency. We don't touch their structure. We don't touch their government. We just provide what we call equal to 1 million euro to every citizen. All they need to do to open their internet channels, that their citizens, they go to the shop, they exchange coin on the phone, because everything is controlled by these governments through their phone. And we pay the governments to have, and we pay the governments, we give the governments a structure that they become, the nation becomes wealthy, but the wealth is spent on the people. The biggest problem they have is the bribery. Can we have hundreds of thousands of coins for us, our families? There's no difference. Then we start the whole bribery situation. And this is what we are going through at the moment. A large number of the cash coins is already locked into some nations. And we are negotiating. We are providing through technology employment, through technology security, through technology, advanced technology. We set to train their scientists to work in the space level, that everything else goes with it. But our problem we're facing, especially past 3 weeks or so, is the leaders of these countries. Again, what's in it for us? And if we don't do some sort of no bribes, but we make it more comfortable that you get more votes, that you will stay, it doesn't wash with these people. If we create a condition, this is what we say, try to get as many people, once we are fully ready, it takes us under maybe 3 to 6 months, to play the game. And the enlightenment and peace, the more people play, and we can put the antennas out, we are bypassing the internet, then we can achieve this. Bringing a comfortable position, people not to be afraid of, because everybody uses of, and we disperse enough units around the world that if they take some out, they can take it out of Russia, but they can't take it out of, let's say, India. You can't take it out of China, because the systems support each other. Then yes, we are about 5 years away from this, I look at it. But now, we actually start offering coins to governments, income to the governments. And gradually, once the ONN sets in, cash coin, without a doubt, become the main currency of exchange between governments. You will see. It takes time, it's taken time. We don't need any authorities, we don't need no banking. We don't need authorization for no bank. You, knowledge seekers, the humanity will take it through, and it will become a currency that there's no inflation, and something which the governments die for. When you work with cash coin in a very open way, there cannot be inflation, because you cannot get more than 1,000 coin, and you cannot get more than €1,000 per coin. And this is one of the best ways that will curb the inflation. A tomato does not worth more tomorrow than today or next year. It's just the man who puts it for his greed. One tomato, you cannot get a tomato online through energy from the server in Russia. You get it from Ukraine, you get it from Australia. It still costs 1 cent. And this is one of the biggest points which bring humanity to the point the greed does not worth it to have. You, as knowledge seekers, don't understand what we set up, what this cash coin is going to do to you and your next generation. Peace. You don't have to stash money away because your money is on the net, everybody knows. You know, when the euro came into operation in 2000, after 2-3 years, Belgians went to the European Central Bank and says, we want to print more notes. They said, what? We want to do more coins. They said, what for? Our nation has everything on the bed. We are short of coins and notes in the currency, in the circulation. EU had to allow Belgium to print new money because everybody was hiding the money. 28% of the money disappeared within 3 years. You don't need to hide anymore. They steal it from you, we give it to you again. But with Jacketberry, it's gone stolen. Technology is there. Emotion of theft is under control. You can control it through technology. And this will takes a lot of these things out of the society, but we need time. Our time is now. You have the, what do you call, the game, you have the coin, we have market corporations sitting there. Very soon Keshe Foundation will be in Shanghai stock market. And then we will control what we call definition of peace through currency. Everybody has enough to eat. Nobody dies of hunger. It's short in your country. You want the emulsion of an apple, it costs a cent. Go on the app, cent of euro. You have 1 million multiplied by 100. You can eat 100 million apples during your lifetime. There's no inflation. What I set up will change humanity, but I'm here to see it through completely. We control it. We have to control everything to be pure. That's the only control we have. We're not there to control humanity. We are there to control the apple you receive. There is no fertilizers, chemicals in it, that it doesn't affect you. The apple is the apple that Adam had in purity. And that's what we are doing. Literally, I show you something when you have the same processes goes through pure, what we call work to create the pure materials. So you have to understand why we show you we are doing these research in agriculture or in the water, is to go back. We still are entanglement of some chemicals or whatever, to go back in Thomas time, in the maybe up and down a few months, to create, let's say, an apple which has no chemical, no alteration in it, that when we put this on an app, you get no poison inside. This is why we do it. We're not doing the agriculture for us to make a profit. Is to get to the original seed. And I'm literally traveling around the world at the moment. I'm traveling in a lot of places collecting seeds. I have a bag full of seeds with me. Original seeds. I'm collecting eggs from chickens, original chickens. That when we put the app, the chicken is from the origin, is not contaminated with the birds, other birds, or other feeding. Birds which have never been in chemicals. And when we do the generation, this morning, I received from our research center the full chemical analysis of the product which was produced a week or 2 weeks ago. What's in it? We're that precise. I received, I think, 4 or 6 reports from our. It costs a fortune to get these things done. But we test every week to see the purity of the material. When it's absolutely pure, we don't see any chemicals in it, then we transfer it into growth, into what we call for apps. So there is no inflation. There is no government forcing through food, through everything else, to dictate on you. Then this brings, when all the governments work on the same currency, one nation policy made by Universal Council through cooperation of theirs. This takes time and needs people who are devoted to bring, and many knowledge seekers are with us doing it. When somebody produces a lettuce, okay, it's a lettuce. we paid the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks to analyze what's in the letters we produce as a reference point compared to what we produce in the future, and we see how much will be eliminated. We have to understand, when we put our name on it, when we put our logo on it, when we say it's a Keshe Foundation, yeah, we get mistakes. Without a shot. We had a mistake last 2 weeks ago. But we didn't go and shout on how. Our team decided we learn from this mistake. A product is produced, somebody has decided using the old traditional way, and so we usually you sack people. No, the team has decided, okay, we learn how much of that we can destroy and change because we are working in other dimensions. And we videoed it. And it came, we knew something's happening, but it came from one of our knowledge seekers who traveled around the world to be with us and says, this is what they're doing. And we picked up on it. We were aware of it. But now we knew what it does. So the management team decided, okay, we don't touch, we are here to solve problems. We're not here to blame. We know who to blame. We know who's done the wrong. But let's see how much gas technology can destroy chemicals in the thing, so we can offer this on top of the others. And this is where we go with this technology. You cannot just do, I'm putting the coins out, I'm putting the O&N out. I have to be able to deliver from A to Z, going from the front door to the back door, from the chair to food to the freezer to the media, to the game, to the furniture, through a one common technology which all fits, not just mismatch what it fits, where it might fit. It's millions of years of man's evolution. It won't happen overnight in 1 week, but we have started a system. And those who work with us have the same ethos as us. We don't work for the money to be there. I'm 9 to 5. We work 24 hours, 7 days, 365 days. Even in a dream, we see what needs to be done because we care to bring the change. And one of the biggest changes is coin, because it'll affect the people who think are in power, but they have no power but to serve. You'll see how it works. If we get 2 or 3 nations together to accept the coin, which we are on the verge of, and they have no choice to do it, then sooner or later, people will push the governments to accept the coin. The same happened in Italy. We learned a lot from the Italians in early or late last decade, when they went to the parliament and they got the parliament of Italy to accept the coin, and they're key. And people have that power to do. And then when we give money, when people exchange, governments have no say. It'll be accepted. But this time cannot buy for themselves and stash away coins. It's yours. From the second you're born, you're given. And don't accept false birth certificate. Gradually, systems for protection will be put in. You can't have 2 citizenship and gain on both. And slowly we're getting there. And we pay your government to encourage you to use the coin because they get money for it. But again, governments pay through coins to bring. It may be in 5 years, 10 years, when everything goes in one way or another gradually, you'll find out you deal in your local currency and you exchange in when you want. You go to your reserve in the, what you call cash coin. Those of you who, play the game and have it one end, you're getting double. You're getting 2,400 a month, and you're allowed to go up to 2,000 euro per month playing. You're getting 5,000 euro in Africa. You have a system. So you see, it's very, very beneficial to have and to what extent we will, push these through, we have to wait and see.
Mr. Keshe, there's a question from Andrew regarding the why is the Keshe coin backed by the euro that they just print and not the value of gold or silver, which is money and not a currency?
The reason we put the value of euro is because it's already accepted by 31 or 32 countries. We didn't use American dollar, we didn't use yen. This is a collection of nations accepting a currency, independent nations. And usually it stays the same. If you live the way we do in Europe, you see, especially in past 2-3 years, prices across Europe are becoming very similar to each other. Very similar. It's hard for the Eastern Bloc part. Gradually they're coming up, and it's getting for the Western side, which was too expensive. And this is the reason, is more or less euro is traded in some 20-odd countries of the European nations. And it has shown it works. And it's the average inflation, average, workforce, average output of 30-odd nations. America is one nation trying to force its way to give its own value. And China is a different story. And this is why we use the 32 members of EU to base it on. It's already accepted by a percentage of nations on this planet, and it works. It's a good reference point.
Okay, thank you. And a question about the ONNs, as you brought that up. Why from, I can't pronounce the name. It's a Polish name, I think. Anyway, the question in YouTube about ONNs, why do we need those 8,000 to 10,000? Is it that they give a stronger signal when closer, gradually lose it?
Is when you speak to the guys who's behind it, tells you even the 8,000 to 10,000 is enough for 1 billion maybe. We have to increase the number of coverage. Is how much traffic it can be handled, in principle. The more I offered the nation 3,000 units this week. One nation. Because I know the traffic in that nation. And I go in the advisory receive when people are in it. I think 100,000 is a full operational maybe for the whole planet in 2, 3, 5 years time. It works on a network, which means how many might go down, there are others too. And then as the more of you use it, the more we need. Actually, the computers you carry is what we call the servers. They become the backers. They carry the traffic, they carry the information at every second. And most probably in about 2 years, 3 years time, we increase the 8 to 12 and 16 because of the traffic. It makes it more secure.
Okay, very good. We have a question from Gianni here, who says, good day, everyone. Mr. Keshe, many people in Romania are asking whether the devices made by Barbu Constantin and the Plasma Association Romania are connected to the Keshe technology.
No, nothing to do with us. The technology is already obsolete. They made a request to us to help them. We looked at it, they're doing a lot of work, but the technology is 10, 20 years behind where the Keshe Foundation is. 20 years minimum. It's what I said when I looked at it, because they're trying to pressurize us to accept their technology to help them. They want material, though whatever they did this, and they are waiting. They said they purchased the material, whatever. They got a license from the nuclear industry, which has warned us very heavily how they got this license from the nuclear. We are doing a lot of work in the background on this group, but their technology is obsolete, totally obsolete, compared to what is developed in the Keshe Foundation. And it's nothing to do with our work. They use one of our technology. They're one of the very few groups. There's about 10, 15 groups around the world who work with this. And there's a group who does on, what do you call it, the maggraph technology. In another part of the world, there are groups who are doing on communication. But the Romanian group technology is 10 years behind the present technology we are, at least. It's obsolete. So it's good for knowledge seekers to work. And if you look at it, the Romanians are copying a lot of, or they're developing a lot of the maggraph systems in theirs, and they try to connect us to this and a lot of other things. There's nothing wrong with it, but the technology is what I call the dinosaur time too, with our technologies, especially when you bring in the antenna with ONNs, these kind of antennas are useless. You got to understand, it's not just sending something. It's the future of the communication sits in cosmic ray, where I was explaining this to our research team this morning. The future of the cosmic ray sits in what in communication sits with cosmic ray, which means there is no zero, there is no fields, but the fields can be bent, can be connected, can be disconnected. At the moment in the computers, you have boundaries 0, 1. In the cosmic ray technology, which we are working on, we bend the light as we wish. We can control the light, convert the light to energy and to matter. We are that advanced. And in bits, I have shown you things, but as knowledge seekers, you don't understand. And this allows us to do a lot of things. I can produce, if the government asks me to produce a ton of gold to back the cash coin I'm talking about, it takes me about a week to produce a ton of pure gold. But we are not in that game. We work what it is with humanity, to work with humanity. We are not there to destroy, we're there to build. But working with that kind of technology, we are very advanced. We are extremely advanced. Our advancement shakes some governments who have realized what we are doing. And don't forget, I sit as advisor to a few governments. And they only take our advice when it's to their benefit, not because we are there. And through these systems, we're trying to bring the cash coin and the cash technology in, and what is happening in Romania is obsolete, at least 10 years behind. Doesn't matter what they think they're doing. It's good what they're doing. It's good too. You never know what they might come up with, but there's not many good news coming in higher than the technologies we do. We use some of the knowledge case to what we call the perch up to support the new knowledge seekers in. But these kind of technologies we see, they are years behind. We passed these points years ago, but it's not to publish, it's to develop and to go ahead. I'm sure next week you will be surprised in one of the dimensions of the work of the Keshe Foundation, where our research team releases its first products. You will see to what scale we work. Even the Western world is amazed in what we do. In the West, you don't have it. The agricultural people dream in what Keshe Foundation has achieved. And we are there to start a change.
Speaking of East and West, there was a question in our Q&A here from Zenek in German, and translates to, hello, if Markray expands into China, what consequences will this have for Markray shareholders in the USA?
Markray will not expand in China. Our agreement with the Chinese is very simple. The Markray, the Chinese Keshe Foundation, will appear in Shanghai stock market in 2027, 2028. We will not merge the two companies, even though I control more or less majority shareholding on both sides. Our operation in China is much, much bigger and vaster than what is in the US at the moment or in Europe. We're becoming gradually a giant industry in the next 2 years in China. Maybe in 4 years we become percentage of the GDP of the nation. This is not hoping, this is we structured it that way. We're working that way. Gradually we set up on a solid basis. And then we don't let the market become originally as essentially a user of the technology developed in China. We will open a front in Frankfurt stock market, in German stock market in the coming time. And that will come in what we invest in Europe. I'm already actually past 3-4 days working on this. We're getting engaged in vast developments in Europe. But in our own way, in what we bring, some of the knowledge is in the background. No, we already rooted in a couple of nations with our work. And we have a certain resources and we have to use the resources accordingly. But market will never merge with Shanghai stock market of the Keshe Foundation. Our team has worked for 2 years ago on this. We have set everything when we are ready. And in 2027, 2028, Keshe Foundation will appear as one of the largest stock market companies in Shanghai. And Markray, within coming time, months, we will see what we do with Markray. We have to weigh 2 things. There is a very crucial point. First of all, the situation between Iran and America is influencing our work a lot because I'm Iranian. And as CEO of Markray and more or less full stock control of the operation in China, my passport has a lot to do. The governments have to find a way around it. There is no other way to do it. And then this affects all our banking system around the world. As the head of the organization being Iranian, if we didn't have this, some of the knowledge who work with us know what I'm talking about. The banking system in a lot of structures. And this will resolve once we resolve the situation with Iran. And then we influence our dimensions in different ways. But Keshe Foundation in China will become one of the giant industries in the next 2 to 5 years. We plan it that way, we're working that way. And we are absorbing a lot of knowledge seekers into our operation. A lot of knowledge seekers are moving in, setting up in a way we need. And it's totally independent. We are not in the hand of any governments. Wherever we work. In Europe, the same. We stay clear of government and we support ourselves. But Markray initially will be a child of Shanghai stock market. and the support it receives through our connections of the Keshe Foundation, and a lot of support. And we're negotiating with a couple of big industrial groups in what do you call it, merging them into to speed up our development. It's not easy working with government, following the research, making the development, bringing all the things we have a dossier of all your knowledge, because where you've done, what you've done, where we can use you, we come to you. You've seen many of you start traveling to us to support us. And up to now, whoever has come to our research centers, they want to join full time. They're moving the whole family because it's a nation in its making, as one nation, one planet, one race. And people come in, they see. And I think you might have a glimpse of what Keshe Foundation has become next week for the first time. But we keep quiet. We have to go ahead. We have to do what we are doing. And we have to let the nations and what you call citizens of the planet to bring us up, not us by ourselves. We'll see. Gradually, I think you'll have a surprise next week. If I wanted to release it today, but they said give us a chance till next week to do it properly, or the week after. And then you see how we work. And it's all done by knowledge seekers. But they all have signed non-disclosure. Nobody knows who they are, where they are, what they do. And it's perfection. Because we want to create the perfect seeds of everything without contamination that we can put on an app. Not to poison you, but to give you what it brings you joy and happiness and what you need. You'll see the first phases of Keshe Foundation development. This time we keep quiet. We work our own way. But you'll see we work with a space agency, a space structure, and you'll see the true space level of the work. Thank you very much for this week, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much, Rick.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Don't forget, tomorrow 10 o'clock, for those of you who signed in for the addiction session. And if you have already been to an addiction session, we advise you not to join tomorrow. Give it a miss. Thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, that brings to a close our 640th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, April 30th, 2026. We'll be back again next week. All goes well, and it has for the last 640 times, so I expect it will next week as well. And our next public teaching workshop will be well into May already, with on May 5th, Tuesday, May 5th, with the One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace, with members and support members of the Universal Council who will be presenting that program. And that starts at the 4 p.m. Central European Summer Time, again on Tuesday, May 5th. Okay, I've got an announcement from Lissy from the Universal Council. Speaking of Universal Council, let me show that and speak it here. And it goes like this. We, the Universal Council, invite the Keshe and universal family present on the earth in unifying at the soul level every time, every day at 9 p.m. Central European summertime. We, the Universal Council, give freely our souls and invite all of humanity to elevate the soul of every leader in every nation to work as one soul in one direction to achieve peace as one nation, one planet, one race. Okay, thank you, Lissy, and thanks to all the members and support members of the Universal Council who work in the background to help support the ethos and work that the Universal Council does with the through the Keshe Foundation and other places. All right. And that brings us to our final close for our program here, which is our flight enhancement spaceship unit, which is still flying, it seems. Sometimes I have to jump start it with my program here, it seems, but I think we're ready for that now. Thank you, everybody, for attending today's program, and we'll see you in the next public teaching workshops.